Let me start recording so we're not screwing this up. All right, everybody, hello and welcome to the very first class of the new year of 2022. It's been a little while since I've done this, so I kind of have to relearn what I like to do when I do these classes, so forgive me if I seem a little bit backwards here. But we're going to be focusing today on meditating on chi balls, psi balls, as we have done in the past. So we're going to begin this today. First, we're going to be drawing in energy, especially from the earth, because we're going to be focusing on charging this with the energy of abundance and prosperity, basically fertility, but not necessarily for us to all get children out of it, but the prosperity energy. And we're going to be using that Jupiterian, that Zeus energy, that fertility energy of that planetary sphere. So it's a pretty important thing that you remember that this energy is always yours, even if it feels like it's coming from outside. This is all your energy. You are the divine. You are that which does all of this. And you're not causing anything. You're setting sail based upon the winds. You know that the tide is right. If it doesn't work, that just means the tide wasn't right. It wasn't time, but it was still a good exercise. So for those of you watching who might be sitting there going, well, I didn't really feel like doing prosperity today. Well, that's okay. It's still good exercise. That's what it's for. So everybody begin by straightening your back. If you haven't done so, sit with your, preferably either if you're sitting in a chair, your feet should be planted firmly. If you're if you're already on the floor, a good sort of cross-legged or Satori style position is fine. That would also be good. A yoga posture would be fine. Anything that makes you feel rooted to the earth, especially for this. We're going to really try to go deep, and we're going to try to really focus our awareness on the psi ball, okay? And we're going to create the psi ball in between our hands, any size you want. We're going to be focusing on drawing the energy specifically through the fingers of Jupiter, which if you have a dominant hand, which for me would be my right hand, some people it's their left, you want to have that energy flow through your dominant hand, through that finger primarily, and charge that sphere, okay? And then you want to receive it through either the palm of the other hand or the Jupiter finger of the other hand. Either one is fine, okay? Now, let's start. Rub your hands together. Let's make sure that all the little nerve endings are really charged up. Clap them a couple times. Just get the life in them. Get the life in them. Try to breathe with me. Let's begin by grounding. First, begin by breathing deeply. As you breathe in, I want you to feel almost a suction, as if the earth is pulling you to itself. And when you breathe out, I want you to feel as if you are sinking into that pulling force. So let's breathe and focus on that for a few minutes. Now, first, you might have trouble. Your mind might be filled with distracting thoughts. You might have other things going on, maybe everything that's going on with your day. It should always be a standard practice if you're not already able to try to clear your thoughts. Don't stop them, just let them run. And when you breathe in something positive or something else other than anything negative. And then when you breathe out, just feel and visualize those negative things just flowing out, almost like a lightning strike, just being drawn into the earth, just being drained from you, being drawn out like a poison. Just let the energy come in through the earth. Every time you breathe in, feel the earth pulling you down, but also feel as if the earth and you are joining when you do that. Imagine your energy body is like the roots of a tree. They're digging down into the earth. Focus on the seat, on the root. For a little moment, try to ignore any other sensations of your body. Just focus on wherever you're connected to the ground or what is touching the ground, your chair, the floor. Ignore any other sensations. Feel anchored and rooted to the spot. Now I want you to visualize yourself in another place, seated upon an ever-expanding, ever-growing golden throne. Imagine it however you want. Maybe you could imagine it like it's being grown out of the earth by golden wood, like it's an organic thing just growing and growing. Maybe it's literally a golden throne that's just emerging from the earth. And you are seated on this golden throne. With each breath, I want you to feel this throne become more and more real, more and more solid. And the distinction between you and that throne gradually goes away. This throne is the seat of power. But it doesn't have to be forceful authority. It can be cooperative authority. It can be however you want it to be. Maybe it's on top of a mountaintop, maybe it's in the beautiful depths of a cave, or even at the bottom of the ocean, wherever you want it to be. Now, connect with the earth and know that the earth wants you to have fertility and prosperity and abundance. Not more than you can handle, but certainly enough that you are happy and content and comfortable. Think about how in the wild world, in the lands where humanity originated, the abundance was a common thing. There's always something, always some food, always some way that you could find a way. Imagine jungles filled with fruit or rivers filled with fish. The world is bountiful. But for whatever reason, when you look down at your feet below the throne, you realize that you haven't been collecting that bounty perhaps as much as you like. It's out there, but you haven't really reached out to take it. The fruit is rotting on the vine, so to speak. It's there. All you have to do is act. There's nothing standing in your way. There's nobody that's going to stop you. And even if there was, there's always another vine with more fruit on it. And that fruit is golden, and it glows with the power of golden light. And while you're sitting on that throne, I want you to bring your hands up. And I want you to open those hands. Create a space between them. And I want you to look up ever so slightly and visualize in front of you a golden orb of fruit, a perfect golden orb. And I want you to reach out with your hands. And I don't want you to take it. I want you to simply know it is there. And I want you to feel gratitude and compassion. You are not taking a fruit. You are the fruit which desires to be taken. You are the fruit whose life cycle needs you to fulfill its destiny. Abundance and wealth is not a thing to be hoarded and taken. Mammon once told me that wealth, like energy, must flow or it is nothing. What you receive must be given. Now gradually place your hands around that fruit and begin to feel that fruit between your hands. And then once you feel it between your hands, imagine you feel it if you can't. Take it and just gently pull. And it shouldn't feel like you're fighting it. It should feel like it was waiting for that all this time. And it just releases like it was always meant to. You hold it in front of your chest. And I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just hold it. Begin to feel it between your hands. Feel its pressure. See its glow in your mind's eye. See it glowing right in front of your chest, right in front of your heart. Squeeze it ever so slightly with your hands. It should feel like a balloon swelling between your hands. Notice that it's filled with the radiance of the earth. Brilliant golden light, swirling and swirling. Now focus on the tips of your index fingers. Connect with that fruit, with those fingers above all, so that they are the ones that are in the most strong contact. The ball is lightless in your hands, completely effortless. And it is held between your two fingers only if you can. Your index finger should be touching the sphere and pointing directly at each other, more or less. See if you can feel as if your fingers are pressing against that weightless pressure. Now, take a deep breath, and as you do, begin to see it swirl in a direction of your choosing. And hold that breath a little bit. Let it swirl. And then exhale and watch it speed up. And when you reach the bottom of that breath, hold it again, just for a moment. And when you breathe in, speed it up again. Almost like a fidget spinner. Just spins and spins and spins. Now imagine, right from around where your heart is, there's almost a electrical circuit, a tube, a lightning bolt, however you want to visualize it, running across your chest, down each arm, and radiating out into the fingertips, but focusing on those two index fingers. Take a deep breath. And then make the connection with the sphere. Feel the warmth in your hands as that heat from that generous earth like a summer sun. And then gradually, without letting go of the feeling of the sphere between your fingers, without letting go of the visualization, however you do that, allow your hands to drop slowly. So it's not about your hands. Your hands have nothing to do with this. Know that the sphere is there. Feel it not with the sensation of your hands or your fingers. Feel its presence like you could feel the presence of someone standing next to you. That indescribable knowledge that it is there. It is connected to the energy of your heart chakra. And you feel the love and compassion. The earth, of course, wants you challenged, but it doesn't want to destroy you. Nature is there simply to be the wheel that spins. It is a flow like a river. It is abundance if you dare reach out. And as you sit upon your throne in this glorious place that you're imagining, the sphere spinning brilliantly in front of your chest with your energy connected to it, I want you to think about not what you lack. We always think we lack something. Think about what you have. Don't think about the empty vault that you have to fill. Think about the coffers that really are full all the time, all around you. All of the things that you already have. Think about how once upon a time, even this meager whatever was a desire that you wanted to fulfill. Maybe you don't have much money. Maybe you don't have much of anything that others would count as prosperity, but you have something. Maybe you have love. Maybe you have art that you love to do. Focus on the love and focus on how once upon a time, something in your life was something you've always wanted. Maybe like me, you've always wanted to do this or something like it, and now here you are. Or maybe you're working through school and there was a time you couldn't wait to go to school. Or maybe the job you have that you think you hate right now. Once upon a time you wanted that. Think about what it was like when you achieved that goal the first time. Once you find that feeling, connect it to that sphere and make that golden sphere glow and feel your body chill and shiver as the energy flows into it. And spin the sphere until it is blindingly fast and blindingly bright. And fill it with that joy, that memory, that knowledge. I have achieved a goal. I have abundance in my life. And there will always be more. Like any abundance, I have to reach out and I have to take it. The fruit that falls from the vine is often past its time. And in much the same way, if we wait for prosperity to happen to us, it is never quite as worthy or valuable as the fruit that must be taken. Not by force, but in cooperation with the vine when the time is right. Be at peace and know that the abundance is there. It is only you that stands in the way. And the reason you are standing in the way is because the fruit is not ready. But soon it will be. And while holding on to that beautiful memory of what you've achieved, the first time you felt the joy of achieving it, the moment of triumph, maybe you went out and celebrated the day that you did it. Maybe you couldn't wait to call your family or friends, tell them that you did it. We've all got an accomplishment. We've all got something we've taken like that, something that we've achieved, something that's been given to us that we were truly grateful for. The love of another, any of those things. Those are all forms of abundance. Hold that in that sphere. And then slowly bring your hands back up. Take hold of that spinning sphere in your hands. And bring it forward into your face, and like an apple, just take a bite. And inhale that energy down in through your body and let it flow. Let it circulate down your body. Let it send chills down your spine. Let it go from the top of your head to the root of your feet and into that throne. Revel in that feeling for a moment. Feel that joy that you felt again. Let it fill you fully. Look around at your feet and look at the throne room around you and see that all around you are the seeds of new wealth, the seeds of new prosperity. The coffers are not empty. They're pregnant. They're ready. The blossoms have been fertilized. It is only a matter of time before they bloom. Think about what those different fruits will be. What is the fruits that you expect? Not just that you dream about, not just that you arrogantly and vainly hope for. Think about the paycheck that you know is coming. Think about the time you're going to spend with your friends that you know is coming. Look around you and see those fertile wombs. Look around you and see those things as the beginnings of fruit that is ripening. And know that those fruit will also become new fruit, and so on and so on. And then look at that one crowning moment that you're hoping for, whatever it is. A new promotion, pregnancy, a better life, a better job, graduating, whatever it is. Instead of knowing that it will happen in some vain and arrogant attempt at wishful thinking, just have compassion for that plant, that vine, that womb, whatever it is. Have compassion for it. If it fails, it's okay. It's doing its best to grow right now. Fertility and abundance. We can rape the earth for these things. We can drag a rake across the earth and gather up all the seeds, or we can nurture it. We can give to it. We can shine on it like the sun and water it like the rain. And when harvest season comes, we take what is ours and leave what must be left for nature and for others. As we all do better, we do better. If you are better at managing abundance, then may you be given that abundance to manage it better for others. Only the worst of people and beings think it is their job to hoard and store. But only a fool spends it all. A tree brings in a great deal of energy, water from its roots and sun. It grows big and strong, and it makes great leaves. And then it wraps its children in abundance, sets it free, knowing that many animals will eat of that fruit and carry its seed far and wide. It is as generous as it is greedy. It only borrows the abundance and then gives it back. And very few things are as wealthy as a tree. It has everything it could possibly need. It has to take nothing. It always, always, always receives exactly what it needs. A good, strong tree grows in the right place, the right time, and never has to ask for the sun. It never has to beg the ground for the earth. It never has to reach down and pluck the fruit from the ground. So generous as these trees that even we, mortal human beings, can thrive off of its surplus. Be like those trees now. Feel your roots in the ground. Feel your boughs and branches reaching out, gathering the energy of the world. Realize you don't need everything. Everything that you need is already here. You don't need a fancy car. You may have one. You don't need the opulence, for your opulence is the sun. Now again, think about that thing that sits in front of you so far away that you wish you had. Look at it with compassion. Realize that this is not at all what you need. This is a choice. This is a desire. This is a thing that you wish to grow in your life. It doesn't validate you to have it. It doesn't make you more strong or beautiful or wealthy. It is just another thing. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing right with it. It is what it is. You must nurture it and have compassion for it, even if it fails. Maybe it's not really what you want. Maybe it's only what you think you're supposed to want. Maybe what you really want is something else. Maybe all you want is peace. Maybe all you want is comfort. But with challenge, so that you're always working towards something. You don't need wealth to do that. As you reflect upon these things upon your throne, realize that the earth's energy flows up and in through you, and the earth from the heavens flows down into you. You are, as always, the Baphomet. You are the union. You are the center. You are the one. You have chosen to put yourself here and now to see this from this position. Your eye is open, but you are dreaming even now. Now I want you to take 3 breaths and put your hands up as if you're about to clap. And as you do so with each breath, come back into your room wherever you are. And on that final breath, I want you to clap 3 times and open your eyes. Forget everything you just did. Clear your mind of it. Don't think about it. That moment was just for you and your higher self. Don't worry your ego about it. Just let it go. Well, that was almost some love and light shit, huh, guys?
I liked it.
That's good. All right, let's see. I know we got a little time, of course. I just want to see. Where are you? Good, perfect. All right. So, that was a little different, right? We made use of a psi ball, of course, but we used it for something a little different. We didn't start with a psi ball. What did we do? I mean, I know I said forget about it, but what did we do different?
It's kind of interesting because, like, other times I've done chi balls, I've started with the chi ball and then put the intention into it. But this time we kind of went hunting for the intention and found it.
There you go. Not only that, but you went to an astral temple to do so. Now, remember, the inside and the outside are the same. There's no difference. Just because it looks like it's in your mind doesn't mean it's not everywhere. Wherever you were just now, that place was real. Everything we talked about, in a manner of speaking, was real. All the symbolism was just symbolism, but it represented real things that are there right now. And as you worked with them, you tuned your ego to them. You were tuning into them. You were aligning with them. And hopefully letting go of certain blockages that are stopping you from not getting what you want, but being attached to the desires that make you suffer not having them. And the irony is, all too often, that makes them manifest like that. So yeah, I don't do that one enough. I got to be honest with you. It's not, look, there's no system, there's no formula. I don't sit there and imagine it the same way every time. That's not how you do it. You've got to go with what feels right in the moment. You've got to go with what's feeling right when you're doing it. I've watched, I'm not going to say a ton, but I've watched quite a few similar meditative exercises like that. And they always have the same flaw, the ones I've seen. They're always about satisfying desire. They're always about getting the cookie. There's never a mention of compassion for if it never manifests. There's never a mention of realizing that you are not meant to get everything that you want, and that desire is a distraction. Certainly in the left-hand path side, anyway. That is always what happens. They go, oh, you're going to get your wishes, you're going to get your wealth, and it's just a hollow promise every time. Or at least often enough that it's ridiculous. So what did you guys really mean when you told me you wanted to do this for abundance and prosperity? What were you really telling me? Were you telling me that you needed abundance and prosperity? Let me be honest with you. No, you were not. You were telling me that right now you're uptight and have a tension about a feeling of lack and want. You don't need anything except to let go of that feeling of need. It's like when you have a nightmare about a Bigfoot chasing you in the forest that's trying to eat you. You are not literally scared of Bigfoot chasing you through a forest trying to eat you. Your goal in that dream may be to get away from Bigfoot trying to eat you, but it is symbolic of something much, much more unspeakable. Something more spiritual, something deeper. It manifests as a Bigfoot chasing you in the woods, just like it manifests for you as a desire or a lack of abundance. It's an insecurity. It's an attachment. And one of the mistakes I've made over the years doing this stuff is focusing so damn much on wowing people with outcomes. And you know how I feel about that. The reality is all of this stuff, it's always been symbolic. It's always been a way to meditate, a way to untangle the attachments. And yes, ironically, so often, more often than people would be willing to admit if they didn't try it, the irony is when you untangle those attachments, very often the release of that attached energy is what manifests something like what you're asking for. Like, bang. Maybe it takes a very slow bang, but it's like a bang.
There's a bang.
There is a bang somewhere. It may take a little while. Like when I did the first rituals I did to manifest my books. It worked because I let go of all of the fucking doubt and just, I have to do this. It was just, no, I'm putting it in something. It's like when Christians say, put it in God's hands. It's a little bit like that. It's not too far off from that. It's very similar. Leaving it on the altar, letting it go. Well, this is a great way to let it go, isn't it? You just feel good. I mean, I feel right now like I should be sitting in a hammock with a nice drink on a nice, breezy summer day, and the sprinklers are going or whatever, and I hear kids playing ball, and I know that dinner's cooking and I don't got nothing to do for a couple of days, and it's the Page of Pentacles, if you will. Just sitting there watching the crops grow, and I got the little piece of straw sticking out of my mouth. That's how I feel right now. Just like, fuck it. It's growing. And you know what? If something happens and the weeds come up, I'll pull them out of the ground. And fuck it. If the thing doesn't grow, that's okay. I'll plant again. It's okay, because that motherfucker doesn't stress out. Not the Page, I'm sorry. The Knight of Pentacles. Excuse me. I don't know why I said Page of Pentacles, but I meant the Knight of Pentacles. Just sitting there, chilling out, watching it go. Just watching it all grow. Just like the dude. Like the parable in the Bible. The birds, they don't, reap nor sow nor bitch nor moan, but the food always grows and they eat the berries and they do all the good shit. Kind of like that. So, yeah. All right. I'm getting lectury. I don't want to do that.
You're good.
So,
I'm feeling it too.
Good. And just, and don't hold it. Just revel in it. And then when it's time for it to go, let it go. The problem with feeling good all the time is you forget what it feels like to feel good. Problem with feeling bad all the time is you forget what it feels like to feel bad. And that can't last. And the more you hang on to it, the more suffering you experience. Yeah. So maybe this week, maybe next week, maybe a month from now, who knows what. But abundance is inevitable. Even if you were to walk into the traffic and go squish tomorrow, abundance is still going to happen because you're not just you. Abundance is inevitable. It's a flow. It's a river. And you're not the only one, or I should say you are all of the only ones. Somewhere right now, somebody's winning $1 million. That's you too. Be happy for them. In some ways, pity them, because that $1 million is probably not going to make them as happy as they think. Actually, it will for a little while. I guarantee you that if somebody walked in right now and said, "Here's $1 million," I'm like, "Bye, motherfuckers!" And see you in the funny papers. You might get a little discreet check in a few months just for fun to be like, "Thank you for being there." But I'd disappear for a while and then give it a year. Maybe 2, maybe 5. I don't know how long, but sooner or later I'll be like, now what? Fuck. It's like a cheat code. It's like when you hit God mode in a video game. Fuck, now what? If you wanted to be rich, you would be. All right. So, we'll be meeting twice a month, like I suggested. And we'll be coming up with different types of meditation for each of these, hopefully with a life lesson included in them, because what's the point of just meditating? There is none. Meditation, there is no point to meditation the way people want. Meditation doesn't cause progress. It doesn't, the point of meditation is not to progress on anything. It is not to grow anything. It is not to develop anything. Really, all it's for is it's like calling your mother, assuming you have a decent relationship with your mother. Can you grow a better relationship with someone that should already, in theory, assuming you've got a decent relationship? Think of someone you've got a good relationship with. Do you have to make it grow any bigger and greater? Do you get better at it? No. You call them because it brings you to a place of contentment, a place of peace, potentially, a place of just bliss. It may not always be happy even, but you feel better getting it done. You feel better doing it. And meditation's like that. Meditation is a return to something, be it guided meditation, be it transcendental, which I would like to do next week, hopefully. Whatever it is, not next week, but the next time. Meditation's a return to a state of, one of the mistakes I made in Become the Maelstrom was to call it altered states of consciousness. Really, the ultimate state of consciousness is not altered. These are the altered ones. The waking state is your altered state of consciousness. That true state of transcendental nothingness, that is consciousness. That's not an altered state. You're de-altering the state when you go into meditation. You're returning to what it should be. And I don't know about you, but when you are able to achieve that, at some point you develop the ability most of the time to at least skim the surface of that state in your daily life. And some people, call them masters, call them the enlightened people, whatever, they don't have to meditate at all. They're always in that state. They're always in a state of, shall we say, attunement, alignment. It's more like they have to try not to be. I'm not there yet by any stretch. Even though I live most of my life in a fairly thought, empty-minded way, even that's not the point. The point is to be fully present, and there's still moments when I have anxiety and depression, and those will always happen. It's just not being... It's like, imagine you're watching them on TV instead. That's the goal. Getting there. I'm only 45, guys, you know? So, all right.
Yeah.
Are there any questions or anything before, any occult topics, magical questions, non-meditation questions? I'm sure there's always something that you guys have on your mind that you want me to fucking blather on about for half hour, 10 minutes, whatever. Is there anything?
Yeah, if you guys got anything, go ahead, because I got like a shopping list of stuff.
Just one. Make it an easy one.
I don't really have any questions. I've been working on, after debunking reality, working on putting the puzzle pieces, even though I wouldn't call them that, back together.
That's okay. No, I fully get you, because my current book work is a big part of that. Is you have to... explode's maybe the wrong word, but you have to dissolve, deconstruct the illusion.
Yeah.
Not because you're trying to answer what it is, because that's more illusion. The point is to, if you do have a model, recognize that the model is a model of a model of a model. It's never going to be right. That the truth is ineffable and unspeakable, and reaching that place where that is normal, not the exception. You have to deconstruct this idea that you have to understand it and instead be it. And you've got to break it all apart to do that. You've got to have... Science helps for some people. For some people, it's the worst thing. I think science helps when you explore science and you realize that, you know, atoms are completely empty space with point objects, if anything, within them that manifest, and they're really the crests of waves. They're not really, you know, solid in structural sense at all. They're solid in the sense that there is something there. The field of reality is there. There is a being of reality, but there is no individual substances. There are no individual solid objects. There is just a bunching. There's just a bunching of distraction, we'll say. Maybe that's a good way to put it. Yeah. So, yeah. Good. Anything from boredom?
No, I'm good here, honestly. This was a good meditation to come back to, honestly.
Good.
Getting over a bit of a bug that I got from the beginning of this year, so this was a good return to doing something at least.
Good. I think we had COVID. At least I think my wife did. I don't know if I did. I had cramps for like a week, but didn't faze me at all. My wife she had like a little bit of a sniffle for a week. If that was COVID, I laugh. Ha ha! That was fucking weak, dude. I've had worse colds, like, you know, sticking my finger up my nose after, like, you know, working at the stables. So, way worse things from just normal life. So, yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're feeling better. How was the Eddie classes?
They were good.
Yeah,
No,
he's very
he
knowledgeable.
did a good job.
Yeah, Eddie's he's a very educated guy. You know, he's a good, not a good foil, but he's a good, sometimes I bounce ideas off him because he knows, like, book learning stuff that I don't know. You know, I feel like a Ricky and he's like my Julian sometimes. You know, I'll throw like my crazy ass ideas at him and he'll be like, oh, that's what they said in this book, or oh, that existed there. I was like, oh, okay, good. So it kind of validates me sometimes, but Eddie's a good guy. So
His history of the Golden Dawn, that was like, that needs to be a YouTube video. That was like everything in an hour and a half.
I'll have to go back and watch that one because I didn't watch it yet. I have a bad habit where I burn out on all this stuff and I just do my own thing and I don't watch other people's stuff, and that's a terrible habit. And obviously my mind's preoccupied with dumb crap a lot, you know. World's going to hell in a handbasket, and for some reason I feel like it would be well, look, it's the Tao for me to struggle against it, we'll say. So but that gives me joy, I suppose, on some level. But no, I got to go back and watch that. It sounds like it was a good episode. So I'll have to watch that. So if he wants to sub again, you guys aren't going to go, no! You guys will be cool with it if he has to sub again.
Oh, totally.
Oh, definitely.
All right, good. All right, CM, I can see you've been biding your time. Hopefully it's a question I can answer in a reasonable,
Yeah.
So what's your first question out of your laundry list?
Yeah, first of all, that was really amazing. I wanted to, it's relating to what we did. So like what we kind of, that guided meditation, so to speak, I do a very similar thing. Like it's a very key part of when I do sit down to do like magic. It's one of the 5 or 6 key things I do is, I'll probably go a little bit harder on the meditative breaths and really get into a state where I really zone out everything materially. And instead, of course, having someone tell you what you're seeing, I just let my thoughts come down through me.
Basically what I'm doing for you do for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because that's what I'm doing when I'm doing it. I'm just riding whatever intuitive inspiration's coming when I'm doing it. So yeah, go ahead.
So there was one time last year where I was working with King Bale at the time, and just to put the story short, I had seen him, and he was he didn't ever show his face at all. Like I think that's kind of like his thing. He doesn't like to reveal himself. But the way I did see him, he was like a sensei kind of figure, an old man with like a big straw hat. Couldn't see his face at all. A very sensei character. And one of the big things he had there was like in his place where I went, it was like you could tell it was once a garden of sorts with like a farming plot on it. But the whole thing was just like grown, like overgrown, like no one had tended to this garden in years. It looked like there was algae in the ponds and stuff. Really gross, right? So one of the big things he was having me do during that time was, cleaning up the whole space and getting the fields ready to till and stuff. But the big thing we left off on when I had that encounter with him is we didn't plant anything. But he told me that like the soil was mulched and everything, and I was like, okay, are we going to plant something? Or he's like, well, you got to get good seeds first. And I looked around, there's nothing. And I was, well, I guess that's what I'm supposed to think about. I hadn't thought about that in, about a year now. And then as we're going through and I'm visualizing that whole golden apple or fruit thing that we saw, the very first thing attached to it was just like, I got like the imagery, the idea of Bale. And I was like, why? I don't, this doesn't make any sense. Like I haven't had contact with him in like ages. But then when we got to the part with the planting and the cultivating of the seeds and waiting for them to grow, it just dawned on me. I'm like, I get it now. It makes sense.
I get inspired from weird places, and I didn't have any of that planned, so it could be that was inspired in me, maybe as a message, or it could also just be that is a wisdom that the universe teaches all of us, and it just came through me that time.
So getting to my question, I wanted to ask about you personally for like dreams and stuff, because I know that as I've done this practice for myself and had these things become like very vivid, I've noticed that when I dream, I know that I'm not only am I dreaming sometimes, but like I'm like, oh, this is no different than when I'm doing these deep meditations. But sometimes I don't have full control, and I think that's kind of for a reason. I think we're meant to kind of like see a story play out, and sometimes. When things get hairy in the dream, it's like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm like, oh wait, I'm dreaming. This doesn't matter.
So the myth of control is part of the mortal delusion. I recently did a Facebook post and some other places I put it talking about what free will is really like. When your will is completely free, you don't feel like you have a choice. You just do whatever the fuck. It's a natural flow. It's Wu Wei. It's the Tao. It's as natural as breathing. You don't have a choice about breathing, but it is you doing it. There's no question. When you feel like you have choices and like you're in control, that's actually an illusion a little bit, because to be in control means that there must be something that you are in opposition to. If you're really, really doing your will, there is no sense of control or being in control or controlled by something else. It is just a natural flow. It's just, And when I was doing that meditation with you guys, there was no feeling of choice. There was just a flow. But sometimes there's a feeling of choice. And that's when I'm not in the right place. Like when I started this, it started with, I've got to do this tonight. That is a choice. And I could choose not to. I'm not saying I don't want to necessarily. My higher knowledge is I'm going to do this. My ego says, do I really want to do this tonight, or do I want to play video games or go back to writing? I love you guys. Don't get me wrong. It's nothing like that. I look forward to talking to you guys. But it is my, what is it? As much as I'm an open, robust, Jupiterian talker motherfucker who's, boisterous, and I got that Thor energy going, I'm also very introverted. I'm also very Hades and Pluto. I'm also very leave me the fuck alone. So I've got to be pulled out. So I've got to make a choice to get here, which that's the ego. My ego is going, I don't want to. I want to do something else. My higher self is like, you won't be happy. That's still not good enough, though, because the ego is not about that. The ego is about, I want to have the illusion of control and power and authority and blah, blah, blah. What am I going to talk about? But I know it's going to just flow once I get here. Maybe it'll be a little shaky at first, like it sometimes is. I've got to get into that flow. We all do that, right? That's not, I'm not unique that way. We've all got that.
Oh, no.
Like,
I do that exact same thing.
Okay, good.
With my friends, I love them, but I'm like, but yeah, no, exactly what you said. I totally get that.
And it's and it is like that rebellious, I don't feel like doing my job thing. There's all these things on top of it. But once I'm in the zone, once I'm doing it and I go, oh, I needed this. Oh man. And it's just flowing. That is why I say magic is not about asserting control, dominance, bending reality, causing effects or anything. It is about getting with that. It's about aligning the ego, because the ego is supposed to be, tool's a harsh word, but it's supposed to be like a glove or a mask. It's supposed to be a facilitator. It's supposed to be a conduit through which experience flows in two directions. If your ego is not aligned with what it's going to be doing, you suffer for it. If, on the other hand, your ego is well attuned to what it's going to be doing, holy shit, can nothing stop you. To an outsider, that sounds like capitulation to the inevitable. To someone who knows what they are, that is a recognition that you are inevitable, and it's the ego that's an asshole that makes you think that it's not. And that might mean some horrible shit. It might mean bad things. It might mean you got to be a Zen monk who douses himself in gasoline and burns himself alive with a smile on his face. But it is what you're meant to do. And you go, no, this is right. This is what it's supposed to be. And it's not a choice. I guarantee you that monk who did that was flowing when he did it. I guarantee you there was no choice. He was just, yes.
Yeah, and to add on that as well, because like I know from personal experience too, like when I just follow, like they try to tune, like it's a hard thing to do because the ego doesn't want to do it. It wants to be king, like you say. But like when I make the effort to consciously just listen and be and act as my higher self, quote unquote, whatever you want to call that is or wants to do, I find even if it's going through like the worst mundane shit ever, you won't suffer.
Correct. Yeah.
It's when you're like want to have something and you don't get it, or something like that. It's Absolutely. Always when there's like the thing of the ego that you get into the
even if there's the worst pain. I compare it to like getting a tooth pulled that you got to get pulled. Like there's a point when they're pulling the tooth where all the pain goes away and it just feels like, oh, it's out. Like you feel like that. Like for me, it sounds like ice break. I don't know if you had a tooth pulled, but if you ever like bite an ice cube and it goes like, you get that squeal and you feel it pop. And just before that pop, there's this feeling of it's almost out and this is what has to happen. And it's just, so yeah, it hurts. Yes, it's a horrible trauma, but there's like a release. There's an enlightenment that happens. I'm in tune with it. I get it. This had to happen. Okay. And that's a tough spot to be in to get there. Like I remember my father when he had his foot amputated, and they gave us the question, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to amputate his foot, and to what degree? We can leave his foot and he'll still never be able to walk again. And it's going to be surgery after surgery and it's going to be pain and he's never going to be right. In fact, he probably won't walk as well as he will with a prosthetic and all of this. Then there was, well, there's the ultra safe where you take the leg off above the knee. And then there's the less safe, but probably a good idea, which is below the knee. They gave us the choice. And I forget if my sister made the decision quicker than I did. But I remember that when I was making my side of the decision for him, because he was unconscious, he couldn't make the decision for himself. I knew in my heart what the decision was. I knew that the only decision was the middle option, take it off below the knee, which is the one that he sounded like he recommended. I knew that was the option, but there was an egoistic part of me that despite knowing that, agonized over that question and said, are you sure? Should we get a second opinion? And all of those kinds of grasping at straws, kinds of denials and resistances. And it was agony making that decision. But once I said, do it, because I aligned with what I knew had to be. And for better or for worse. I think for the better. I think it was all for the better. So I know we sound like a very love and light crew in here lately, don't we? With all these evil pentagrams and shit. Of course, if you understand the origins of this symbol, you know that that's not evil at all. But you get what I'm saying. Anybody who's new watching this stuff. So, yeah. One thing I would like to point out is you made me think of it, CM, when you were talking about King Baal. And I realized that part of my issue that I've had lately with working with spirits that has sort of kept me from being as, we'll say, active with that as I was, is falling into this learning about Gnosticism a little bit and recognizing what it really means on left hand versus right hand and such. And I go, well, even if I see them as kings, unless, you know, a lot of old spirituality was political. Right? It was a political thing. It was a hierarchical thing. You had kings and emperors and rulers. I realized that, you know, I'm not a Gnostic because Gnosticism by itself is a very superstitious mythology, right? But the symbolism of Gnosticism is obviously taken from both Platonic and thus, you know, monistic stuff from India. Okay, it's clearly they're of the same DNA, and I recognize that their idea of a demiurge is spot on right. That is an absolute reality. Doesn't mean that it is the demiurge or that it's the child of Sophia and all the little mythological things, but that demiurge concept, the archetype of the demiurge, is completely and 100% accurate. And it is at the pinnacle, not of the spirits themselves, but of different interpretations of them. So you have the 7 planetary celestial beings, right? You have, you know, well, you've got them on your staff, CM. You've got sun, moon, earth, you know, Mercury. We don't count earth because that's at the very tippity top of your staff, technically. So it goes earth, sun, moon, Mars, Mercury, whatever. You go through the planetary influences, and you get to Saturn at the end. And that's the last one. And then you break free, right? That's the final one. In a way, you're supposed to be conquering those as archons on one level. You're supposed to be seeing those as rulers, which is part of the demiurge. But at the same time, they have their other side, which is liberators, right? So you have the one that isn't, I am the ruler of wealth and riches as Jupiter, I am the king of the gods. You have, I teach you to be a king. Well, there's a reason he's second to last, if you think about it. There are 2 things that hold everybody back from their divinity. All of them do. Each one of the planets will hold you from your divinity if you linger in them, if you make them the point. But there's 2 that catch everybody. They're like the catch-all. They're the ones that people who are on an ascension trip, really they struggle with. It's why they're the last 2. Jupiter and Saturn are the last 2 for a reason. Jupiter is authority, Saturn is death. Time. death, the end. Everyone wants to hold on to that kingship of Jupiter, and nobody wants to face that death guy. So everybody usually, they'll struggle to get through the planets. They'll hit Jupiter maybe if they're lucky. They'll ascend. They'll be like, I am a king. But they hold on to that so tight that they don't go further. And so a lot of these beings, I'm not saying the reason they're called kings, but in much the same way, we call them King Baal. Yeah, that's an honorific. That's a great way to give them respect. But why don't we call Malphas a king too then? Why don't we call ourselves a king? Why are there princes and dukes and knights and all of this crap as if they're in a hierarchy of power and worship and all of this? And that could be one reason why, because Lucifer has been pulling me further from that. Not to say to hell with them, but to distance myself from some of that and then go to the purity where they're teachers instead of kings. And I don't know, maybe that's what I'm evolving into next. Maybe that's my final form or my next form. Don't fucking know, don't care. It's always fun, right? That's part of the journey. So
yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Because for me, it was the opposite. When I first started, Lucifer, like one of the big first gnosis things from Lucifer was like, oh, well, the ranks and stuff are all bullshit. It's more of, it's less of authority and more of like, how do these beings with infinite power, because that's what we are, how do we interact with each other, and what can we say in terms of how do we relate to one another? It's kind of more of a relationship thing more than an authority thing.
Sure. And that's a good key. I mean, you remember probably from the beginning where I said approach them as a king to a king, and that is like step one. But then even realizing king is dumb. It's kind of like that movie, I think it was Phenomenon with John Travolta, and when they ask him how he's able to make the pencil move on the table, he doesn't say he moves it or compels it or whatever. He I forget what it is. It was more like they come to an agreement, basically. It's more like he convinces it, he talks to it, basically. It's more of a communication than it is anything else. It agrees to move, I think is kind of, I'm paraphrasing, but, and, there's still work to be done, in my opinion, for me, among other people. And I'm getting there. So, but hopefully you guys learn by watching my fuck ups. But anyway, so I guess what I'll close on today is, you guys may have noticed the wonderful Elena Lemmy has figured out how to do, well, it's probably not showing up good. I got to probably bring the light up, and they're actually not going to be expensive. I was actually really happy about this. So in case you guys are interested, I know I'm kind of upselling you. I don't want to do that too much, but I'm proud of it. It's pretty cool. So she's been able to make, still not very clear. She's been able to make, I guess they're laser cut, but Trinity of Cells necklaces out of stainless steel. Nice. So these will be, I'm in talks with her now to see what kind of like how many I can get made, and they'll be on my Etsy at some point. Probably in the ballpark of like 30 or 40 for this, plus a little leather cord or something. So that's not too bad. So they'll be pretty cool. I'm really excited. I've wanted these for so long, but I'm going to be potentially working on the Trinity design anyway, because there may be some, I don't want to say changes, but there might be some refinements to it that I might do at some point to maybe better explain it. Maybe, as I'm writing this next book, I don't want to leave out the Trinity. I think the Trinity is a very powerful symbol, even just because of its shape. I mean, people look at that and go, what the hell is that? I mean, it's obviously a triangle of art, we'll say. But I want to sort of take the things that I've realized and realize that, unfortunately, a symbol like that can be taken too literally, and that gets us into trouble. I think that's my own, I remember when I told Azazel about it, and he's like, that's a really good model, but I wouldn't say that is necessarily the truth, right? Models aren't the truth, are they? And that kind of like, it's been like wearing like a worm through the fruit of my brain, just like, what the fuck does he mean? I know what he means literally, but I mean, could I improve it? How could I make it better? Should I get rid of it? Well, no, it's an inspiring symbol. I don't want to do that. That would fuck my ego up. I like that symbol. It's a good symbol. I like using it. So trying to find ways to either make it easier to understand or to reincorporate it is next. So I don't know. Maybe I'll blow the ideas past your heads when I get them written down. Maybe I'll give you guys a little preview of them as I get them. Maybe it'll be the same symbol, but maybe I'll have a better way of explaining it besides that Venn diagram, which was also good. But yeah. So all right, guys, I'm in a babbly mood. So I appreciate you guys. Figure not this coming Monday, but the Monday after that, which I don't know what that date is. Let me look it up. My kid's going in the Navy probably that same week, but I think I'll be free that night. Let me just see when that'll be. So we'll probably be all like, let me see. Yeah, the 24th. Worst case, if not, it'll be the 31st, because like I said, he's going away. He's leaving on the 26th, so I'm pretty sure I'll be good on. There's a chance we'll be doing like family stuff those nights because it's the last week, and we might be going to dinners and all this stuff. So I'm not saying no. I would rather say yes, and then worst case shift it to the 31st. So tentatively plan for the 24th, and we'll do another meditation. At the moment, I'd like to do something transcendental, but we'll see. We might just do another visual meditation like we've been doing, another journey somewhere in the astral, and just have some fun. So, all right. So, all right, guys, unless there's anything pressing, I'm going to take off. So I'll see you then.